students can learn the new grammar and vocabulary expressions and culture in class, and then they can have a chance to go outside and explore what they've learned, and then they are very excited, happy to practice what they've learned from the class.
You are listening to Speaking of Language, a podcast recorded at the Language Resource Center at Cornell University. I'm Dan Gable, Technology Manager for the LRC. Each week, we explore a topic related to language pedagogy and second language acquisition. In this episode, I sit down with Meejeong Song, Senior Lecturer and Coordinator for the Korean Language Program. We talk about the wide set of teaching tools that she utilizes for her classes, from facilitating teacher-student interaction via web-based audio to coordinating travel abroad programs in which students are learning Korean while immersed in the rich culture of South Korea. Hi, Meejeong, welcome.
Hi, Dan.
Today, we're going to talk about a number of topics, but before we get started, I wanted to introduce you. You are the Korean senior lecturer. You teach a range of courses from elementary to advanced. Is that true?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Korean program?
Okay, then we have 6 courses in the Korean language program, and we have separate tracks for non-heritage and heritage students up to the 2nd year, and then the 3rd year and 4th year is the mixed class with non-heritage and heritage students together.
I see. So the heritage, tell me about what a heritage class is.
Yeah, heritage classes students, their parents are Korean and they speak Korean at home. But for the elementary level heritage students, they can speak, but they cannot, they didn't have a formal learning history, so a learning background. So they don't have a good knowledge about reading and writing. So we are focusing on making their speaking and listening skills compared to the reading and writing skills. They should be balanced.
I see.
Yeah. So, but for the intermediate level students, they have a basic knowledge of writing, but they need to be able to express their opinion in academic way to reach the advanced level. So we are focusing on more reading. Variety of readings and then variety of medias that they can use in class and then express themselves in academically.
I see.
Yeah.
And then are those 2 separate tracks completely?
Yes.
I see.
Yes, different classes.
Yeah. Right. Very cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was excited to have you here for many reasons, but one is that you were very helpful for me. I've spoken a lot on this podcast about my experience learning Korean. It's I've sort of used it as a way to talk with Dick, the director of the center, about various issues in pedagogy and issues like intercultural competence and error correction, other things, and. You were very helpful for me getting started because you introduced me to the Korean Sunday School through the Korean Church.
Yes.
Wonderful program where lots of little Korean children running around.
Right. You're the only adult who are learning Korean there.
Of course, yes. Yeah. And it was a very unique and interesting experience. So thank you for doing that for me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Yeah.
I found it very interesting. For one, one topic I spoke with Dick, 2 things. One, error correction, the idea of how important it is to be corrected or how difficult it is to accept criticism when you're trying to learn a language and you say something wrong and then somebody stops you and says, hold on. And I found it interesting that being with, I was with a younger student, Jean. She was really great. But because I was, this adult and she was a student, and I think there was something where she may have been a little less likely to want to, be tough with me and, no, that's not right. So it's interesting for me to think about that and to think about how there's really a difference between being an adult language learner and a student learner. But one thing is there's definitely a cross-section, and that is the importance of conversation. The fact that I could sit with her and just struggle through trying to ask a question, or a big topic for us was food, because I love food, and I wanted to be able to order whatever I wanted to order when we were in Korea, and that worked pretty well. But at the end of it, I really was mostly only feeling confident when I was in a restaurant, which wasn't exactly the ultimate goal. But conversation, being able to have a native language between or be able to have extended conversation between native speakers and non-native speakers seems to be very, very helpful. And do you find that to be true in your experience?
Yes. Well, let's go back to the error correction first.
Sure.
Okay. So I think that age doesn't matter. So you are talking about the adult learners versus the student learners, but I think that it depends on the proficiency level. Yeah. So I think that for the elementary level, then more feedback will be better, because if we don't give the feedback right away, then they're going to have a wrong input, and then it will be like a fossilized, So we'd like to prevent that. So for the elementary level, we try to give more error corrections to students. But if they advance to the next level, intermediate and higher, then if their errors doesn't affect too much, okay, in conveying the message, then we don't stop them, and then let them speak more, because our goal for the intermediate and higher students to speak to be fluent in narrating things. So we don't want to stop every time and then discourage them to speak more. So that is a kind of we are thinking to improve their errors, but definitely that we'd like to give a lot of error corrections, but still for the higher levels, then we don't give every detail.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
You can see how it might interrupt the flow of a conversation or thought process. And then there's the conversation hours that we host here at the Language Center here at Simpson Hall, and there is a Korean conversation hour. I see the poster for it all the time. I always want to sneak in, and sometimes they're eating yummy food, and they're having fun playing games and so on. Has that been helpful for students, you think, having the conversation hours?
Yeah, the first time that when we opened up the Korean conversation hours, then we are hoping that we gather a lot of learning students to have good chance to speak with a native speaker and about the Korean culture, which are not covered in the Korean class. So I think it will be broaden their knowledge and experience with the Korean culture in a very intimate environment. But as we all know, the Cornell students are really busy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So even if it is only 1 hour a week, then only a few students attending Korean conversation hour regularly. So it's grateful, but those students start from the first day. They attend every week, but we don't have new students.
I see.
Yeah, but still the student who is organizing this every week meeting, she is preparing very good resources. Okay, and then give a lot of good information about Korean culture. And yesterday, she was having ramen cup ramen, ramen bowl while they're eating ramen bowl. Yeah, 맛있어요. And they're talking about the kinship terms in Korean.
I see.
Yeah, so we have a very developed system of kinship terms depending on the gender, and then father's side and mother's side, and older or younger, very complicated kinship terms. But they could have a chance to talk about and learn about the Korean kinship terms too. And then we also have karaoke
Oh,
And
yeah.
then night, we purchased a new 노래방 machine, karaoke machine this semester. So, I was hoping that, many students can come last week, but, students were so busy,
Yeah,
so only
it's
a
hard.
few, showed up. But still, we had a good time. Then we are going to have another one next week. So hoping that, more students can come.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
hopefully we can help advertise it even with this podcast.
Yeah.
Is it open to anybody who wants to try,
Yeah.
even very beginners?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I wouldn't get kicked out if I were to pop in.
You know what? The last semester for the elementary Korean, the very beginning course, then one of the homeworks are the students should dub the Korean song.
Oh.
Because I thought that it was like a fun way or fun and motivating way for students to practice letter and sound coordination practice.
I see.
Yeah, because I introduced Korean writing system, and then even if they understand what it is, but if they don't practice a lot, they cannot recognize the syllable very quickly. So, I thought that it would be a good idea for them to read the lyrics and then listen and practice and record their voice along the music.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, but if it is like a long one whole song, then it will be too much challenging for them.
Yeah.
So I asked them only the first verse or the chorus part, only on your part, at least 4 lines. So they had to do about 8 songs throughout the whole semester, and then they
that's
all
cool.
enjoyed.
That's
yeah.
a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a musician, and so I know that I've mentioned it on the podcast. But the reason why I studied Korean was because of I adopted a child from South Korea, my son Kai.
Yeah, he's so
who's
adorable.
Doing great, and he's. One of the things that I did, and this was really more in an attempt to bond with him, and it turned into a little bit of a real language exercise for me, was I had this idea of learning a children's song, a Korean children's song, play the guitar and sing, and send him a video of me doing that in his language and see how that works. So I learned Nabia.
Like that.
Nabia,
Yeah.
Nabia.
Yep.
And I still have it burned in my brain, and I sometimes sing it to him still, and it always, I could see his eyes, light up. And
That's great.
but I thought that would be a really interesting. I thought that might be even an interesting project to work on with somebody, which would be to take a few children's songs and use that for me to learn, even just like, as you say, the being able to recognize and pronounce syllables and so on.
Yes.
One of the problems, of course, is that all the recordings of songs like that, sometimes they're like, cutesy little cartoon characters or a child who's sort of, not really enunciating correctly. But I thought it was a really fun way to do it. Music is a great way to learn.
Yeah, I agree. I recall that when I was learning Japanese a long time ago, about more than 10 years ago,
I see.
and then I used music and also drama, and then they helped a lot. So if I find a song that I really like, and then even if my level is not that high, but I still try to understand the lyrics, what that means. And then I try to ask my Japanese teacher, then the structures or the words that I didn't understand. And if I got instruction from the teacher, then I realized that that means the what. And then I was really, happy, with joy,
Yeah.
So that motivated me to learn more Japanese, and then want to learn more Japanese and the culture too.
Right.
So, I think that the movie and drama is a really good, source for them to do. And then I know that my Korean learning students are much better than me. They know more about K-pop and the singers and then the songs. And then they all, even if they don't understand the meaning, they can still, sing along.
Yeah.
And then we have a big event each semester. And then in the fall semester, we have a karaoke contest. so 노래방 contest. So only the students who are taking Korean classes can enter the contest.
Good.
We have an audition.
Nice.
Yeah. And then, a lot of students are actually, applying for the audition. And then, they present in the show. So, it's really nice for motivate them to learn more Korean.
Yeah, that motivation's got to be so important. That's really cool. And to have the competition aspect of it is pretty neat.
Yes.
So the whole cultural element to learning language has got to be so important. Dick and I spoke about intercultural competence, the idea that it helps to be kind of prepared to go into another culture and know some aspects of how to interact and how to feel comfortable and so on. And actually, for me, that ended up being a little bit of a problem. I didn't feel quite prepared. I was really scared to speak when I was in Korea, and I felt like everybody was looking at me. I mean, part of the issue is for me that those who know me, I'm very tall. I've got a big beard. I'm a very distinctive looking, not your typical Korean.
Yeah.
So I think I stood out. But that aside, I think if I had really, maybe if I had sat down with you and asked you some specific questions about, well, in this kind of setting, what's appropriate for me to say, or different aspects of the culture might have been helpful. Or certainly learning the language in Korea while I was there in maybe a more relaxed setting might have been better. You actually do have a summer program where students you take students to Korea. Can you tell me about that? I bet that's very helpful.
Yeah, I teach Korean, intermediate Korean in Korean university during the summer, and then I bring a few Korean learning students from Cornell to there, and I think that it's really benefit for students to learn the language while they are in that country. Yeah. So students can learn the new grammar and vocabulary expressions and culture in class, and then they can have a chance to go outside and explore what they've learned, and then they were very excited. And when they returned to the next day class, and then they were talking about their experiences, what they had, and what they thought that it was difficult for them, and then they bring some new things to me, and then ask me what that means, and then what is appropriate. And so I think that is a very natural learning is occurring and happening. If they are doing that, and then they're very happy to practice what they've learned from the class. So I think then it's a very good for them to have a chance to learn the language in their country. But, I think that it will be at least 1 year of language learning, formal language learning. After then, I think that will be,
I see.
Yeah, because if you don't know anything and then just learning, then you can, grasp only a few. But, if you already know the basic foundation, and then you can explore and you can expand your boundary of the language using your language.
That makes a lot of sense. And so this is obviously a huge cultural learning experience for the students. Do you let them learn and experience on their own, and then let them come to you with questions, or do you prepare them at all in terms of cultural issues or anything like that?
Yeah, I think that they don't have any like a cultural shock. Well, when they're there, then they're enjoying the like a young generation culture.
Yeah, sure.
And then they bring to class, and before class, and we have a small chat, and then what did you do yesterday, and then they talk about their experiences, and then it's a very natural way to let them improve.
That's really cool. Another topic I just wanted to make sure we touched on was you had a project a few years ago where you recorded in the studio. This was when the Language Center was at Noise Lodge, but you had students recording their voice. I think it might have been particle issue. There were probably several topics. One of the things I remember is because I was learning at the time, I used it as a tool for myself, talking about Korean particles and that structure, that system. So can you tell me about what you did? It was on SoundCloud. You had recorded
Yes.
it here. We divided it up into small files, and then you made it accessible to students that way. Did you use that for a course?
Yes, I do. I created a mobile-based listening aid for the elementary Korean students. We are using the textbook, but the textbook background is not Cornell, and then or the background in near their life. Okay, so I wanted them feel like more like in real setting. So I wrote a script using the new grammar points for each chapter. So each chapter has 5 or 6 grammar points. So depending on them, that I created. The first part is the brief explanation about the grammar point, and the second part is a drill because Korean is like verb conjugate, and it's regular and irregular, and so it's complicated.
Yeah.
So, but we cannot do drill parts in class all the time because it takes a lot of time. So I wanted them to practice outside of the class. So this is a very good tool for them to practice the drill part. And the third part is the model conversation, because in everyday daily activities, students, I think that if we can give them good feedback and good input, then they can produce better. So this is a kind of a model conversation using the grammar point and combine with the old grammar points together, and then expand their language, so they can listen. And then fourth part is the speaking part. So I ask some questions, a list of questions, and then they can answer depending on their situation.
I see.
Yeah, so for each grammar point has 4 parts, and then every chapter has 5 or 6 grammar points like that.
I see. And so you put it on SoundCloud in a way where students could either just go basically just go to a website and play it. I also found that because of the way SoundCloud works, it's also a podcast hosting kind of environment. You could actually subscribe to the feed and then listen to it, with your other podcasts. While I was at the gym and I was listening to you and your students talking about these things. And so I wondered when you would assign these files, would you just associate it with a particular lesson and say, listen to this, and this, or could they move ahead? How did that sort of work? The consumption of that audio.
Okay, so for the first year, it was free. So there was no assignment, but the recommendation. So please listen to this as many as you can. But busy students don't do that. But I think it is a really good tool for the students who were absent from class and also who are studying by themselves. It's really, and reviewing what they've learned. It's a really good tool.
Right.
But still, I couldn't let them listen as much as I was intended to. So this year, I assigned the homework assignment.
Good.
And then listen to one of the model conversations of each chapter.
I see.
While we are doing that chapter, and then there's no script available. Okay, so they have to listen a lot to write down the script.
Nice.
Okay, and then they were paired with a partner because it's a conversation between girl and boy. Okay, so it's like a pair up, and then they have to record what they write.
I see.
Okay, so and then they have to post it on the Blackboard discussions.
I see. So did you? How would they? Could they just record it in any way that they know how, and then just on their computer or their phone, and then just upload it?
Yeah, upload the file. I let them know how to upload the file, and then how to post their script there together.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been working great.
Oh, that's really
and then
cool.
for each chapter, I changed a different partner so that the students can have a different partner for each chapter, because 8 or 9, different pairs.
Nice. That's really interesting. Yeah, I like the idea of, I mean, you mentioned that students are so busy and it's hard for them to find time to do these things. But when you make that material available like that, where you can listen to it online, or as I say, from a podcast, like I can be at the gym and practice or listen, maybe not record, but I can certainly listen. You sort of get to take advantage of my time or the students' time outside of class. And it's hard to have an excuse, because they could walk to class and they could listen.
Right. So, I always ask them to listen while you're doing exercise or walking or having lunch, You can do that like when you are listening to music.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because, I remember that when I was learning Japanese, I used wall a lot. I downloaded the wall sounds, and then while I was walking to classes or walking on the campus, I just listened to and then repeat. And then they gave me to produce better. So, I thought that it would be very good for my students too. So that's why that I created that mobile-based listening aid.
Yeah, that's
so
great.
So
it's
I'm
like a whole different mode entirely, it seems. It's just sort of a little more passive, but maybe getting into your brain.
Right. You don't need to pay attention to every time, but you can just still listen and have a good input, and then kind of brainwash it.
Brainwash the students
with the Korean.
Right. Good. Wow. Well, that's really cool. Yeah, your work is very interesting and exciting, and
thank you.
It's been really cool talking to you. I want to thank you very much for coming here and being on the podcast. And so thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
The Language Resource Center is located on the ground floor of Stimson Hall on Cornell's main campus in Ithaca, New York. Check us out on the web at lrc.cornell.edu or look for Cornell LRC on Facebook and Twitter. Speaking of Language is produced by Sam Lupowitz and Dan Gable. Recorded by Sam Lupowitz. Original music by Sam Lupowitz, Dan Gable, and Joe Gibson.